Imagine Oracle Arena's roar distilled into a single heartbeat. Now imagine it silenced by the weight of what's about to drop. A seismic shift poised to shake Dub Nation to its core. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where raw truth collide with splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat. Today, we're diving deep into a rumor swirling through the NBA grapevine that could redefine the Warriors' off-season chessboard. A sign-and-trade deal in the works that links the New Orleans Pelicans to none other than Jonathan Kuminga, Golden State's enigmatic young star who's been the linchpin and puzzle piece everyone in the front office can't fully decipher yet. Multiple sources, from top NBA insiders like Jake Fisher of the Stein Line to Brandon Scoop B. Robinson, have dropped heavy hints and exclusive tidbits that the Pelicans aren't just casually interested. They're actively wrestling with the mechanics of a trade that could land Jonathan Kuminga in New Orleans and bring back a package including the under-the-radar defensive specialist Herb Jones, sharpshooter Jordan Hawkins, and potentially a first-round pick. But here's where it gets intriguing, and frankly, a bit convoluted. The Pelicans' entire roster is reportedly on the block, and cap experts note that to absorb Kuminga's expected contract, which insiders peg in the ballpark of $25 million. Annually, the Pelicans have to pull off some serious salary cap gymnastics just to stay out of the luxury tax. Ownership in New Orleans has made that a non-negotiable priority, so the front office, led by new VP of basketball operations Joe Dumars, infamous for his questionable draft decisions during his Detroit Pistons days, faces a cliffhanger. Can they pull off this high-wire act without breaking their balance sheet? Dumars' track record isn't exactly the stuff of championship lore, recalling the Darko Milicic selection over Carmelo Anthony, so rumors that the Pelicans might make a questionable move here align with the messy history. Now, what does this mean for the Warriors? The proposed return package featuring Herb Jones certainly raises eyebrows. He's not a household name in casual circles, but deeply respected within analytic and scouting communities for his lockdown. Perimeter defense, he finished top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year voting a couple years ago, showcasing a rare blend of athleticism, instincts, and versatility. Standing 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, Jones averages nearly 2 steals per game when healthy and can disrupt passing lanes like a defensive maestro, a skill set the Warriors desperately crave as they look to shore up their perimeter defensive. Struggles beyond the core of Curry, Thompson, and Green. However, there's a laundry list of worrying red flags. Herb Jones played just 20 games last season due to a rotator cuff surgery that understandably dinged his trade value and caused a noticeable dip in his three-point shooting efficiency, plummeting from a reliable 37% on corner threes to a dismal 30% overall. In Golden State's offense, which heavily leans on spacing and catch-and-shoot accuracy from its wing defenders, that slump can't be ignored. Is Jones capable of bouncing back to his previous shooting prowess? That's the million-dollar question. Salary-wise, Jones offers a manageable contract, about $13.9 million next season, with one more year at roughly $14.9 million after that, making him a smoother fit financially for Golden State compared to some other free agent targets. And yet, would swapping Kuminga for Jones and Jordan Hawkins plus a first-rounder really move the needle for this Warriors squad? My gut tells me no, especially when you consider the value Kuminga represents. Not just his physical tools and flashes of elite upside, but the potential untapped in his explosiveness and versatility as Draymond Green's defensive shadow and Steph Curry's dynamic foil. Trading away your biggest trade asset, your young emerging star, simply because a deal works on paper, that's a slippery slope. And here's where the plot thickens. The Pelicans are reportedly reluctant to give up Herb Jones lightly, recognizing his role as their defensive anchor. The Pelican Debrief blog points out that during the 2 seasons they ranked in the NBA's top 6 defenses, Jones was a rock, playing upwards of 66 to 76 games. Lately, Without him for most of last year, the Pelicans' defense cratered to the Cal. Second worst rating in the Liga, glaring indicator that moving on from him isn't a trivial matter for New Orleans either. So imagine the gamble. Are the Pelicans willing to risk defensive collapse merely to absorb Kuminga's salary and make a splash? Or are they looking to replicate a Warriors-style roster, using pieces like Kevon Looney, Jordan Poole, and even Lester Quinones on a two-way deal? The idea of the Pelicans duplicating the 2022 Warriors blueprint is eyebrow-raising, to say the least, especially on the Doomers' watch. Meanwhile, the Warriors' offseason has been an ongoing saga of missed opportunities and fading targets. From aging big men like Brook Lopez to potential sign-and-trade partners like Clint Capella or Kristaps Porzingis, the options have evaporated like mist. Speculation around Al Horford has surfaced but seems stalled amidst the sticky salary cap implications, the dreaded luxury tax, and the suffocating apron limitations that loom unless the Kuminga domino falls. This isn't just another roster tweak. Kuminga's contract situation is the linchpin holding the Warriors' entire offseason strategy hostage. Until his status is resolved, whether that means a trade or a re-signing on amended terms, Golden State won't be able to roll out meaningful moves beyond low-cost exceptions like the taxpayer mid-level offer. And while Malik Monk's name surfaces as an alluring alternative, especially with rumors suggesting the Sacramento Kings might entertain offers, the Pelicans' proposed package feels underwhelming if it stops at Herb Jones and a first-rounder. Malik Monk offers scoring punch and can complement the Warriors' offensive style in ways Jones can't, despite Herb's defensive upside. Could the Warriors stand firm and wait for the trade deadline, hoping Kuminga's market heats up or other teams get desperate? It's a gamble. But the flip side is the mounting distraction and chemistry disruption, leaving this saga unresolved as training camp looms. If this deal with New Orleans falters or fails to satisfy new head coach Steve Kerr's vision, who values defensive IQ and two-way versatility highly, what then? Do the Warriors settle for an imperfect trade that wrests away Kuminga's upside, just for cap relief? Or do they risk stagnation, clinging to a player whose contract and situation have become an anchor? There's a haunting symmetry here, recalling the We Believe era's roller coaster of hope and heartbreak or the championship. Highs where front office boldness collided with Steph and Clay's legendary shooting. This moment feels like one of those crossroads. The wrong move could fracture a legacy, carefully rebuilt after the 7 seconds or less era, while the right one might quietly kindle the fire for another title run. But is New Orleans a viable partner with the skeleton of their roster and the cap gymnastics they must attempt? Are Joe Doomer's questionable trades the historical precedent we shouldn't ignore here? And what if the Warriors find themselves boxed into a corner, forced to accept a package shy of what Kuminga's ceiling demands, just to free the cap and pursue the elusive center or stretch big who could finally fix their rebounding and rim protection woes? The clock ticks louder with each passing day, and free agency headlines flashing with names that slip further and further out of reach. The looming question isn't just about deals, it's about the identity of this Warriors team. Can they build around Kuminga's unique blend of youth, athleticism, and defensive versatility, keeping their Splash Brothers supported and fresh for a final playoff surge? Or is it time to pivot, recalibrate, and accept the reality that the next wave requires shuffling beloved parts? As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, my pulse is racing just writing this, weighed down by the gravity and uncertainty of a saga that overshadows the off-season's fire drills and speculation. But is this the spark that reignites our dynasty, or the crack that fractures our legacy? Drop your unfiltered takes in the comments. I'll be right there, heart in hand. If the thought of Steph cooking up magic one more time got your blood boiling, drop your rawest reaction right here, because Dub Nation's heart is pounding harder than ever, and this saga is far from over. Look, the clock's relentless. The off-season's turning into a pressure cooker steaming with questions. And honestly, this Kuminga trade chatter with New Orleans feels less like a deal in the works and more like a crucible testing every fiber of what this Warriors team has made. Off! Think about it. Jonathan Kuminga's still young, still raw, but with bursts of highlight reel, offensive versatility, and defensive potential that make him one of Golden State's rare high-upside assets beyond the Splash Brothers. He's in this precarious spot where he's equally a tantalizing piece and a looming headache, especially with that contract eating up cap space and shackling Kerr's maneuverability. Now, the Pelicans rumored offer Herb Jones, an excellent defender no doubt, but coming off a nagging injury and with shooting questions, plus Jordan Hawkins, a promising rookie with a decent stroke but nowhere near a proven NBA contributor. And a first-round pick, yeah, it looks neat on paper. But does it jolt the Warriors toward another title, or does it just muck the waters? Jones might feel holes on the defensive wing, but can he steady the ship when the postseason storm hits? And Hawkins? His ceiling is still wait and see. And that pick? We've seen how the Warriors value draft picks, usually as the lifeblood for sustainable greatness. But in this moment, with the roster wedged between aging staples and a youth movement clashing over minutes, their urgency is palpable. Could trading Kuminga cost more than the frontline gain? What if it's a catalyst for locker room turmoil? A post check on Curry tells us he's still the sharpest, still averaging somewhere around 29 points a game with insane shooting splits, 45% from deep. But the reality is, he's aging. And so is Clay, who's coming off that brutal Achilles. Comeback last year, playing with a limited role and rhythm. Draymond's MVP-caliber defense and floor leadership can only carry so much weight if the supporting cast remains in flux. The Warriors' playoff hopes hinge on these dynamics clicking, and taking Kuminga out of the equation could tip the fragile balance they fought so hard to maintain since the full-spent years post-KD departure. Meanwhile, the West is a war zone. Suns with Devin Booker lighting torch after torch. Nuggets cruising with Nikola Jokic like he's rewriting the MVP narrative in real time. Lakers under LeBron and AD trying to rekindle dynasty sparks. OKC's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander emerging as a bona fide franchise star. And the Mavericks with Luka Doncic dancing on defenses like a man possessed. Every night is a gauntlet. Every possession counts. Every roster move is amplified by the ripple it sends across the standings. The pressure cooker expands when you factor in that Kerr's philosophy is all about harmony offense and defense meshing seamlessly. Roles clearly defined. Buy-in total. Could Kuminga's departure fracture that? Would Herb Jones' lockdown defense be enough to mask the loss of Kuminga's explosiveness? Or does this signal a shift in the Warriors' DNA? A pivot from youth infusion toward conservative value plays with veterans and lower-risk contracts? Most fascinating is the historical shadow lurking over all this. The echoes from the We Believe era remind us how unexpectedly a team's fortunes can flip, fueled by heart and gut decisions. Then there was the KD era, the smooth, almost unstoppable juggernaut where front office boldness and star synergy created a dynasty we still measure all teams by. Now, here we stand at a crossroads with Clay's injury comeback still fresh in our minds. Moody's showing flashes but needing more seasoning. Kuminga's upside as bright as ever but elusive. And an offseason filled with whispers of trades that could remake or unravel. The stakes couldn't be higher. Locker rooms talk. They always do. Players sense uncertainty and the whispers about whether this deal could unsettle the chemistry or maybe even spark a fresh competitive fire swirl louder each day. Kerr's known for his calm under pressure, but even he's walking a tightrope. How do you keep your core motivated when your young star might be on the trading block, your salary cap tight as a drum, and your playoff window narrowing by the second? From 5 straight finals appearances to this moment of agonizing uncertainty about the future, this is the Battle Dub Nation watches with bated breath. And it's not just about wins and losses, it's about the identity of a team that defined basketball for over a decade. About the legacy Steph and Clay built with Draymond's warrior spirit woven through the DNA of every game. Do you double Down on Kuminga, betting on his growth and the magic that might still be unlocked? Or do you embrace the difficult choice of trading him for more immediate defensive stability and draft capital, knowing the risk? As someone who screamed with joy for Baron Davis in '07, sheared tears for Clay's sharpshooting resilience in '22, and has ridden every wave of highs and lows in his golden era, I'm standing at the edge with a pounding heart and a fierce hope because this could be the quiet beginning of our next championship legacy, or the seismic fracture that signals a rebuilding era. Either way, the saga is unfolding live, and Dub Nation's voice matters now more than ever. So right here, right now, give me your unfiltered, no BS take. Are you ready to back this front office when they roll the dice, or do we brace for a tough, messy offseason? Is this the rebirth our dynasty needs, or the end of an era that won't be forgotten but must be transformed? I'm in the comments. I'm all ears. Let's ride this roller coaster together because this story, it's far from finished.